Hello and welcome to the Merle and Locke podcast. I'm Merle.
And I'm Locke.
Set sail and low expectations for everything nerd, accompanied by a healthy, albeit shameful, helping to pointless banter, lack of focus, and questionably acquired knowledge.
And more.
And more. I read this quote by C.S. Lewis the other day, and I thought we could delve into it and we could hear each other's thoughts on it.
It's quite interesting to me that you brought up C.S. Lewis. I wasn't expecting to hear any other name today.
So here it is. It's a quote from The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. Lamb says somewhere that if of three friends, A, B, and C, A should die, then B loses not only A, but A's part in C, while C loses not only A, but A's part in B. In each of my friends, there is something that only some other friend can fully bring out. By myself, I am not large enough to call the whole man into activity. I want other lights than my own to show all of his facets. Now that Charles is dead, I shall never again see Ronald's reaction to a specifically Caroline joke. Far from having more of Ronald, having him to myself, now that Charles is away, I have less of Ronald, hence true friendship is the least jealous of loves. Two friends delight to be joined by a third, and three by a fourth. If only the newcomer is qualified to become a real friend, they can then say, as the blessed souls say in Dante, "Here comes one who will augment our loves. For in this love to divide is not to take away." Of course, the scarcity of kindred souls, not to mention practical considerations about the size of rooms and the audibility of voices, sets limits to the enlargement of the circle. But within those limits we possess each friend, not less, but more, as the number of those with whom we share him increases. In this, friendship exhibits a glorious nearness by resemblance to heaven itself, where the very multitude of the blessed, which no man can number, increases the fruition which each has of God. For every soul seeing him in her own way doubtless communicates that unique vision to all the rest. That, says an old author, is why the seraphim in Isaiah's vision are crying, "Holy, holy, holy," to one another. The more we thus share the heavenly bread between us, the more we shall all have. I'm sure everybody's expecting something short and sweet, but no, it was kind of lengthy. I felt like this quote spoke volumes to an idea that most knew, but we just never realized or had been able to put into words before. I mean, I don't know how long this dates back to, but it was a wisdom that I had never had or learned. It was all too familiar. It kind of, I don't want to say like hit home, as it were, but it was enlightening. I mean, as far as all of our friends go, we see the transformative power of having particular friends hang out with other friends. When we're all grouped up, we see a different side to the people we know and love, depending on, of course, who's all present. We've had a conversation before about...
It's like choosing your friend group, like having certain friends around each other. They meld perfectly. They have perfect synchronicity.
We would often also pick and choose what friends we would introduce to our other friends.
Right, like the inner circle.
And I feel like most people do that, where they have different friend groups that they like to hang out with, or we may love one friend wholeheartedly, but we will not introduce them to this other friend group because we just can't see it getting on well, or we had introduced them to the friend group before, but they just didn't react well to it. It didn't bring out a better form of them, or maybe it kind of dulled who they were because of shyness or whatever it may be, or their certain personality just wasn't connecting well with the other friend group, which is something that you could appreciate yourself, and you know many other people that would appreciate it. But with these particular other friends, it just didn't hit home. It's kind of a science, right? Trying to figure that out. I feel like I tried to bring a lot of people together. Oftentimes, I've had all these different friend groups, and I just tried to force people together in one way or another.
Come on, get along. Get on.
Everybody get along. I want to think that there's some kind of value to that, but I just like to give people a solid chance to connect, more than one opportunity. Pretty hard-headed about it, where I'm like, yeah, maybe they were shy and they're kind of reserved at first, but let's give it like 20 other goes and see what happens. Constant insistence that it'll happen.
See, if it wasn't a lesson for you, then it could have been a lesson for them or both. Is that something that they have an interest in continuing further afterwards? If they don't come back, then clearly it wasn't as much of a benefit to them. And then the benefit for you is learning who's compatible. Would you do it again? Probably not if it didn't work out the first time, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, you're like, out of my pure stubbornness, I'm going to do it again anyway.
You better believe it. We don't have much experience in our close friend group with losing particular people, like in this example by C.S. Lewis, with people permanently being gone or passing away, whatever it may be. There are friends that I have seen change in the past, but it's friends that I'm not so much connected with anymore. We don't speak to on a day-to-day, but we've lost friends together. But I haven't been able to see firsthand what has happened as a result of it. But in our close-knit friend group that we have now, we haven't really had that experience or experienced that loss. Of course, I'm thankful for. Absolutely. That's like, I don't want to experience it, but it just makes me dread about what the future might hold if it were to happen. Oh man, it's kind of gut wrenching to think about, so I won't dwell on it too much. But it's such a truth. If particular people from our group are together, there is going to be this certain dynamic that's happening that we love. But when we have the whole group together for like maybe a game night or something, there's all 50 of us together. I don't know how many of us there are. I don't care to count, but there's a lot of us. And if we all get together, there's a weird dynamic where we have different pockets, I guess you could say. There's a connection between a couple people together where the rest of the group just doesn't understand, or they don't know what they're on about. Kind of like inside jokes. It's funny to see, but when you're on the outside looking in, if you were to look in it further, which most of the time we're all rather hammered, we don't really see it.
Yeah, you're seeing it from like a two-dimensional side of view. You're like, I don't see the whole thing. Oh, well.
It's also fun to see when you're on the outside, seeing that dynamic between those particular people. It's kind of heartwarming to see, I think, in my mind. I don't feel like left out per se, but I'm like, wow, I just never saw that side of this friend because it can only be brought out by these other particular friends. I really enjoy seeing that and having all these dynamic interactions occurring within these pockets of the grander gathering. It keeps things fresh and interesting. Is there a lot of particular dynamics that you see in some of our friend group grouping together over others?
Our outgoing ones, I can definitely see them reaching out, trying to grab everyone that they can. People that they think meld with them great. Usually always the outgoing ones. It's never the shy and timid ones. They're the ones that are going to keep to themselves, leaving it for somebody who's a little more brash to come to them and say, we're hanging out today. And that's usually a dynamic that just tends to work more often than not. They might argue and be like, no, I'm too mild and meek. I can't do that. But you kind of enjoy it. From some level, you almost enjoy it. That's why you stay around this company. There's one thing that C.S. Lewis even knew, I'm sure, is that we all get put in each other's lives for a reason. And the ones that really meld well, the ones that can teach us a lesson and we teach them a lesson, whether we know it or not, we just stick around until the lesson's learned, and they will forever remain in our lives.
We've talked before about something that I had learned early on. Whenever you meet people throughout your lives, they always leave some kind of impact on you, and it helps to shape your personality. And I really valued that advice that I had gotten from that person, where he was saying that you're young now, you're going to meet a lot of people throughout your lifetime. Your entire personality is going to be formed by these interactions. Ensure that you pick and choose what traits you develop. I really took to that. I know I'm going to develop these tendencies growing up from all these interactions I have, but I have the ability to choose the positive tendencies that I develop. I really treasured that. That is 100% true. All the friends that I've made along the way, I've definitely found those people that have the most positive impact on me, not because of what it is that they bring to the table as far as all these materialistic things, or they help to further my career. It's none of that. It's just the positive aspects that they put on my personality. That's all I've ever thought about since a young age. Just hearing that clear advice so long ago, that has been a part of my personality from the get-go. And that was really valuable to me growing up. And it's helped me formulate these amazing friendships that I'll treasure forever.
Real funny. Once you get to know all these different people, all these personalities, and how we adopt them as our own. And then we use those personalities to help others. That's what I think about. Think about it like when I was younger, when I was the shy one. I know it's hard to believe. Contain yourself. Relax. I said calm down.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
But being around some more, what's the word I want to look for?
Positive influences, or?
In a way, yeah. I mean, there were definitely positive now when you look back at it. But that helped me reach out to some other quiet kids that I knew and try to open them up so that they can kind of also do the same, and maybe look at that one shy, quiet kid and go, I'm going to crack that nut. I'm going to open that one up. Once you get to open them up, it's like watching a rose bloom. It's not a whole lot to just look at it, but once it fully opens, you're like, wow.
Look who you've become.
Look who you've become.
That's a sweet sentiment. So C.S. Lewis said, as far as finding kindred spirits, I don't want to say that it's the most difficult thing, but the only way to do it is by putting yourself out there and encouraging others to do the same. Those kindred spirits, you'll treasure them. No regrets whatsoever. I mean, except with like our friendship, for example, it's highly regrettable. But no, here we are. I have to suffer you.
It's so insufferable.
This guy. If you enjoy the Merle and Locke podcast, please consider becoming a patron by going to patreon.com/MerleandLocke, or simply follow the link in the description. Thank you.